So one of the excuses that I hear all the time is that I can't find my God-given passion, place, and purpose because I just don't have the finances. I mean, I wish I could follow God's will for my life, and yet financially, I just can't do it. I'm just getting by day to day. And yet again, as we look at the Christmas story, we see that this really isn't an excuse. I mean, after all, look at Mary and Joseph. I mean, here was a young couple who had practically nothing in the way of finances. I mean, look at when Jesus went to the temple to be dedicated. We can see that the offering that they gave was actually the offering given by poor people. It was the very least that you could do and still obey God's law, which shows us that as Mary and Joseph entered into God's plan for their lives, they were taking steps of faith. I mean, they didn't have the finances to really provide for themselves or for Jesus. And what would have happened when they went to Egypt? They certainly didn't have the money to take care of that themselves. And yet, as we look at the Christmas story, we can see that when you follow God's plan and purpose for your life, and you open yourself up to doing whatever He wants you to do to fulfill His kingdom purpose, He provides a way. And how does He do that? By using other people who have both a heart that God can use and the willingness to use the means that they have to fulfill God's kingdom purpose. You see, it's amazing to see how God brings those two things together. People who would say, well, I just can't afford to follow God's kingdom purpose are often so blessed by people who have extra and say, I just want to use this all to fulfill God's kingdom purpose. And yet when both of those two hearts come together, God's purpose is fulfilled and both people find their passion and place and purpose in God's will. So I want to encourage you this holiday season. Don't let finances keep you from following God's will for your life. Instead, when you hear God speaking to you and telling you to take a certain direction, say, Lord, I really want to follow you, and I'm going to take that leap of faith. I mean, yeah, be fiscally responsible and see if you can cut things out of other areas of your life, but don't let it stop you. Instead, trust that if God has called you, then God is going to provide a way to fulfill that calling. And maybe you're on the other end of the spectrum and you actually have extra cash or extra money and God is speaking to your heart. Don't ever say, well, that's just me, or I don't want to embarrass anybody, or tend to have like a selfishness inside of you. But if God is speaking to your heart and saying, I want you to share, I want you to give this for my kingdom purpose to be fulfilled, then absolutely you need to obey so that all of God's kingdom can come together and fulfill His plan and His purpose for this world. That's how we become a life-changing community that helps people find Jesus and change our world for God.